All right. Hey, Facebook Live. Hey, Live Universe. We're back with Rachel Smets. I don't know if you remember Rachel from about a month or two ago. Any of you that have been living abroad or you're expatriates or whatever, you're going to love her episode if you haven't listened to it already. Rachel, just give everybody hi out there.
Hi
Live
everyone.
Universe.
Thanks for being here, Nathan.
Yeah, well, now the first time that we had you on for the interview, you were talking about your your recent TEDx talk. And what we're going to do today, we're going to talk more about the book that you wrote. So if you are ready to go, I am going to hit the recorder here where I'm going to record some backstage additional bonus content for your podcast episode that I believe has been live for a few weeks now. And we're going to do that in 3, 2. We are live once again with Rachel Smets. Rachel, are you ready to talk?
I'm so ready, Nathan. Shoot.
All right. Well, hey, everybody, we have had some great interviews already with Rachel Smets, and you can refer back to the main interview for that. What I wanted to do today was actually introduce her from some of the excerpts of the reviews of her book. And her book is called Living Abroad Successfully: What, Where, When, and How. So Sam Ruth says this book covers all the basic elements of living abroad, from thinking about it, doing research and planning, to making the move, and all the details that are involved, to finally returning home. It's full of tips and stories. It's a blueprint with a personality. The writing is informative and engaging, and the checklist at the end of the book, covering every chapter, is an easy guide to make sure you don't forget anything. And here's what Ryan Windsor says. I'm really impressed with this book and how simple and succinct it is. Every chapter has a great punch of reality, tackling the most practical aspects of living abroad. Not only does it give good advice, but the author also manages to collect real-life quotes from expatriates who have experienced it all before. Rachel Smets, welcome back to Be The Talk.
Thank you for having me again. I love your shows, Nathan, so I'm happy to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, hey, it's so great to have you back. And I know I'd like to make this a little bit personal, because you're talking, your whole TEDx talk was all about how you basically you chose to take on risks. You had a very comfortable life, and you took on all kinds of risks, and you started changing and moving all around the world and embracing the risks of life and all the abundance and amazingness that life has to offer. And so you've written this book to help expatriates out there. I want to get a little personal, because I've got a funny little story. I remember when my wife got a job out of all the training that she had, and we moved out of state. And we stayed in the country, but we moved out of state. And the funny thing was, it was only about 60 kilometers away that we moved. Okay? So I moved basically from one side of the state line to the other side. Here's my point to everybody out there. I was so confused by packing up all my belongings. I was so disoriented. And I actually went into a depression. And I was in a teaching capacity at the time. I was teaching online courses, and I actually had, not really thrilled to say this, but I had some colleagues say to me, "Hey, Nathan, are you okay? We can tell something's up with you just because of the online messages on this class." And so my whole point was, you might not even be an expatriate, or you might not have even moved yet, but even a simple move of 50 or 60 kilometers, like it was for me, could be such a jolt that you didn't see coming, that you really need to resource yourself. And so that's why I've brought Rachel Smets back on Be The Talk to talk about her book. I know, Rachel, some of the people that you help the most, they're ambitious professionals who are overwhelmed because they've moved, and they're stressed because of the move, and they're unhappy. Or maybe their partner is the one that's moved, and they've come along for the move, and they are overwhelmed, stressed, and unhappy. They're trying to make friends. They're trying to connect. They're trying to feel free and independent, and they're really trying to enjoy this amazing opportunity. But as you said in your own TEDx talk, it doesn't happen automatically, and there's some changes that need to be made to be able to adjust to the shift. Now, I've been talking for a very long time. I'm going to turn it over to you and take us away from here, Rachel.
Give me that mic.
Yes, you've got it.
Here I am. Phew. Yeah, no, I'm so happy with your example, Nathan. And of course, I'm not happy that you were, kind of depressed, but it just shows, and it shouldn't be. I mean, living abroad or living elsewhere, and you don't have to. I mean, the word expatriate is sounds a little bit. I don't know. For a lot of people, it's confusing sometimes. It can be very broad. Okay, you don't have to go outside of your country, but or you can, but you don't have to maybe be an expat from a company. You can be your own freelancer. You can be a digital nomad. The fact of the matter is you're moving away from home. And a lot of people think, it's fun, it's exciting. I'm sure you thought the same thing, like, hey, great, new environment and all of that, until you get there. And then the first weeks usually are still quite okay because you think, exciting and getting to know, some new neighbors and new shops and new streets and finding your way around. And it's called actually the honeymoon phase, where everything is nice. And then comes the shock. It's called a shock, because it is what it is. And you suddenly realize, like, my friends and family are not in my neighborhood, and I just can't and a phone call or a Skype, it's just not the same. And the shops and the stores are different, and the people are different, and suddenly everything is different, and it can be very frustrating. And a lot of people stay in that frustration phase for a long time, can lead to depressions. And so the thing is that what I try to do with my book is start from the beginning, like, wait a minute, what do you prepare, and how do you prepare, and how do you research? And the book gives you all these chapters, and of course, it's not specific to one country because it happens to anyone, anywhere who moves abroad. These are all topics you need to think about because moving, no matter how you put it and how much it will always cost you more money. So the finances are an important issue. The finances, the destination, the housing, the accommodation, the moving. So I touch upon all these topics, and I have a lot of checklists in my book as well to help you prepare. And then, that's... A lot of people, some people don't come to me before they move, which is fine. But then once you move, that's actually the settling in part is one of the hardest parts. And if you've done some research and preparation, great. And if not, then that's where I help people with, because it should be fun. I've done it over and over again, and it's so funny. You mentioned my TEDx talk where I say, take that next step and step out of your comfort zone and take it step by step. And to prove my point over and over again, because I talk and I write and I want to make sure I'm living what I'm talking. So I'm standing here in Switzerland, totally out of my comfort zone. I decided to just be here for, a month and a half and totally out of my comfort zone and thinking, okay, I need to explore. I need to feel again what it is to meet new people and to talk another language and to be confronted with all these new and uncertainties and expensive, by the way, supermarkets and foods. So that's really how I want to help people, because there are some structures, some priorities that you can do so that you can step out of that frustration phase fast and really feel like, okay, I'm good here. I'm feeling at home, and now I can focus on my work and my job or finding a job or, just enjoy, because it is such an amazing life experience. It improves your personal development, your flexibility, your independence, a lot of things. And it should not be depressing, no matter how, okay? Because some people move for a company, some people move as a digital nomad, some people, like you said, Nathan, move with their partner. It doesn't matter for what reason. You got to find a way. You got to find your way to make it nice.
Rachel, I love what you said, and I'm going to unpack that. So we're going to step back here. I heard 4 phases, okay? You have the honeymoon phase. Maybe there's even a planning phase before any of this, but you have that honeymoon phase where everything's nice and rosy and the flowers are blooming and everything's romantic and wonderful and all of that. Then comes the shock phase. And you say, in the words of the talking heads, oh my gosh, What have I done? This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. Where am I? Who am I? What have I done? That's the shock phase. Then the frustration phase, the third phase, and then the fourth phase, hopefully not, but the fourth phase is the depression phase. And I really went through all of those phases myself. I'm thinking about and this is a happy story, but one of my wife's former colleagues had immigrated into the United States, did not speak the language well, and we were at the company picnic a year ago, and this person was really struggling with the shock phase, the frustration phase, and the depression phase. And they actually, the company did a little bit of, fortunately, in a very nice way, an intervention where one of the coworkers knew of someone who spoke the same language and helped put some friends in that person's life. Rachel, I couldn't believe the difference this year at the company picnic. She was so vivacious and open, and her English was excellent. And I couldn't believe that she had been in a crisis a year before. And it's all because someone like you stepped in or someone made the connection to this person to have someone like you help her to be able to connect, learn the language if necessary, learn the customs, meet new friendly people, maybe change the way that they present themselves to the world in a friendly manner, in an open manner. You know, what are some things that people can do? Maybe it's the partner or the spouse or the boyfriend, the girlfriend of the person that initiated the move. But what are some really simple things that person can do if you're in the shock phase, frustration, depression phase? What are some things that we can do to get out of that phase?
Yeah, I will tell you that gladly in a moment. And the phases that you're naming is of course your interpretation. The real four phases. I love it how you do that. So it's great, and it's how you interpret it. But there's the real four phases are to adjusting to a new culture, and the shock is the honeymoon. You got that right. The second one is actually the frustration phase. And in that frustration phase comes, of course, if you don't deal with it well, then comes the depression. But then actually the third phase is adjusting, getting to know people, getting to know your way around, adjusting. And then the fourth phase is acceptance. And acceptance is really the result of, okay, now I can say this is my home, instead of, my home being your native country or wherever you come from. So those are the four phases. So honeymoon, frustration, adjust, and then accept. But then, of course, what happens is that a lot of people stick to that frustration phase and don't know how to get out. And,
all right, talk universe. This is why Rachel is the expert, because you heard my four phases. They got worse. They got worse and worse and worse. Rachel's the expert here, and hers gets better and better and better. So you got to go to Rachel for the help, not me, because I'll just take you down farther and farther.
Yeah, you'll throw them in the ground. Yeah. No.
All right, go on,
also,
please.
I just want to say that it shouldn't be. I am a coach, and I help people doing feeling better and getting to that acceptance phase. And it really should not be complicated, okay? Because people may think like, it's going to be a long journey and like a sort of kind of therapy kind of thing where you spend a year with a psychiatrist or whatever. No way. I mean, I'm a fast action person. I just want to, meet people and adjust and accept in no time. So it's all also related to you. Every person is different. Every person has different activities and hobbies. So to give you some examples, Nathan, like you asked, like, what can you do? Well, there are some, first of all, priorities that you set, like what comes first, because people tend to talk to other people and then you get all these sort of questions like, and how about a driving license and how about a car and where will you live and what will you do and this and that, and then you get all stressed out and overwhelmed. So, it's all also, first things first, like, let's prioritize things. And when it comes to settling in, it's finding your way around. It's finding your hobbies. I mean, there's always things that you like to do. For me, it's sports. So the first thing I do is find a gym. because then I feel like, okay, I'm doing actually the same thing that I was doing at home. It feels good. I connect there with people that are like-minded like me because I like to exercise. So you have a topic of conversation and you start to meet people. Of course, the language is a huge topic because not the whole world speak English. And some countries do speak English, but you still don't really get into. You're still a foreigner because, you don't really understand them. So that's a whole chapter in my book. And then there's the cultural differences. I mean, in the States or in Asia, in Asia, they always say, I just was speaking to somebody who was doing a task for me in India, and I work a lot with Indian people. And, they just say, yeah, I'll do it for you. Yeah. Can you do it tomorrow? Yeah, I'll do it. In fact, they know they can't because this guy literally just said, well, my aunt died and I had a funeral to organize. He's telling me this a week later. Why can you not tell me that, no, because he's like, yeah. So the Indian culture, and I'm actually a cultural expert because that's what I teach, cultural diversity. If you know a little bit more about the culture, and I add that, of course, in my coaching as well, you get that for free because I'm passionate about different cultures.
Okay, looks like we have interrupted internet. We have interrupted internet. If you can go back a sentence, Rachel, we had a blank for about 3 whole sentences. So if you could go back, my audio guy will clip this out for the podcast.
Where was I? The cultural thing?
You were talking about, the cultural piece you throw in for free.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm a cultural expert and I teach cultural diversity all the time. So for me, it's logical sense. But when I talk to people, settling in is also understanding the culture. If you talk to somebody from India who says, yeah, I can do that, they may mean maybe, they may mean no, they may be saying I don't know. There's like 5 different meanings to the yes. And then they turn their head around like that. I mean, I love those people. I respect them a lot. I have a lot of contacts in India. No. But it's just understanding those cultural differences.
Absolutely. And I've been to India several times. So I have Indian family members and love India. And I'm laughing because I know, the head shake means yes. And the yeah, that means all kinds of different things.
I have the 5 different meanings. So, but then, so the cultural differences, languages, I mentioned that. So there's a lot of things to think about, and there's a lot of, things that you can prioritize and then do next and next and next. So I really help, I love making action plans, okay, what do you do first? How do you feel good? What are your hobbies? What can you do? And then just, go about and do it. But I have to mention one very important thing. There's also, we can do these action plans and make priorities and all of that and all the chapters in my book. But there's this one thing, Nathan, which is so important. It's the mindset. I talk to some people and for myself, I'm always open-minded and I love meeting people and I just try. I go out there and I talk to someone and I try and I do my best. And if I don't know the language, I'll sign language. I try. I've never, touch wood, had any bad experiences. But there are people, and usually those people who stick too deep in the frustration phase, they would and that's not good, and that's not good, and he's not nice to me, and people don't talk to me. Why? Because maybe you're not talking to them, and maybe you're not putting effort. And living abroad in a new country with new people, we're the foreigners. We have to adapt, and we have to make effort. I make effort every day while I'm here. But I'm open-minded, and I'm very positive that if I say something, yesterday I was completely lost in the city. I asked about 5 different people for directions, and they helped me so good. So why are they helping me, whereas some people say, oh, nobody's here to help me, and if you have this negative mindset, negative things will happen. So even if you're not choosing to live abroad, because maybe you're a partner, still you can make the best of it. You really can. I truly believe that.
Rachel, thanks so much for talking about the mindset piece because, man, we're going to bring into our life whatever we focus on, especially when we're in an unusual place, a new place, a different place. So, hey, Talk Universe, we really started this interview off on a very personal note. And the reason we did this is because it's a very personal issue for you, maybe for a partner, for someone. This really it begins on a very personal level, and yet we've kind of left out a little bit about one of the most important things that Rachel does, which is working with companies and teams that are working abroad and doing these same adjustments, but at a heightened level where there's money and time and payroll and all kinds of project management work that goes haywire when a yes or a head shake or a head nod could mean 5 or 6 different things. So before we end this interview and wrap it up, Rachel, could you just let us know, someone who's listening who is, expatriate, or they're a project manager, or they're part of a global division, and they're looking for people like you to help their teams get on the right track? What are some of the things that you do in the corporate arena?
Yeah, in the corporate arena, I do a lot of webinars. In fact, I do a lot of webinars with an Indian company as well, to just teach, okay, what are the basics that you should know to do business with other cultures and to be more culturally competent, to name it exactly, actually, because it just makes your work so much more effective. I mean, a lot of times you lose and waste so much time because you go back and forth thinking something, and then the other person thinks something else, and the communication is not there, and you interpret some things differently. And there are these basic little things, it doesn't have to be much, to understand the culture more, and to even understand your own culture more, because that's how I start. If you don't understand your own culture, you'll never learn about another culture. So in corporate worlds, these little things, it doesn't have to be long. Again, I'm like, it's got to go fast, and you don't need me for a long time. But yeah, that's what I do. I give workshops, webinars, to just become more culturally competent and make, more effective and efficient work.
We've been enjoying this conversation with Rachel Smets, and we're springboarding beyond her TEDx talk. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to go to her website and check out all of the resources that she has. Rachel, I don't actually have your website right in front of me, so just tell us what the website is so that we can find it and go there.
Very easily, just my own name, Rachel Smets, SMETS.com.
RachelSmets.com, and we're back with Rachel right now for the final word of advice.
My word of advice, I would just quote on the top of my head, life changes, and so can you.
Life changes, and so can you, and so will you, Talk Universe. We've been enjoying this conversation with Rachel Smets. Rachel, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom yet again backstage on Be The Talk.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you.
All right. Well, we are still with Live Universe here. Hope you enjoyed that. If you know anybody who is living abroad, then you're going to want to wiggle your finger over the share button right now and send this over to them. I'm sure what Rachel has said is going to touch off several things. And at the least, that person who's living abroad, or maybe they're here in the United States or Canada or wherever you are, maybe it's someone bringing someone into your culture and they're having a struggling time. It's just enough sometimes to know that it's not an automatic adjustment. And so those phases, especially Rachel's phases, the positive phases, instead of the worse and worse phases that I had created, Rachel's phases are even better. Yeah, well, yeah. I was just trying to summarize a little bit. I'm glad that you made them more positive than what I was hearing. But sometimes knowing that this is just a natural human thing is enough. Yeah. And so like my friend's wife, at the company picnic, it just takes a little bit of adjusting and being willing to change, and maybe someone else coming in and connecting with a resource like Rachel, and it can all turn around for you too. So just wanted to say that. Please share and send it over to them. And, obviously you can comment on this, and Rachel is going to be tracking this. And real easy way to ask the author something for free. It's not easy to get time for free, but sometimes online, because everybody sees it, it's a great way to be able to get some great informed answers. Any final word to Live Universe, Rachel, before we duck offline here?
Yeah, living abroad, no matter how or why, it should be a great experience. So make it enjoyable. And if you have any questions at all, just type a comment below and let me know, and I'm here to help.
All right, awesome. Well, hey, my friend Kelly has commented. She says, "You'd be so fun to do this with, Rachel." And we've got a love and a like here. So spread it. Thank you, Kelly, for the comment. And any other comments, questions, put it right here. Take care, everybody. And I've got to find the button here. Everybody, I've got so many windows on top of other windows. Take care.